Peace, 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 everyone. Peace to each and every one of you all. Let's make sure that I'm streaming everywhere. Shout out to everyone who came out last week and participated. Came out. Definitely appreciate the love that you all have been showing. Honors to honors to everyone who has subscribed to the channel, who likes the videos, who's always sharing. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe so that you can always get notifications when I'm going live. Make sure that you like the video, thumbs up the video, and let's share. So tonight, I'm not going to really be long with you tonight. I just want to go through a couple of things. We've been really working on assisting the Moors with waking up, because for some reason Moors believe in our minds that we went through uh, this thing that they call the Middle Passage, that our ancestors were on some slave ships from Africa and we came over here to America to work on plantations. But that's so far from the truth. And we're going to keep putting out the information to help us all wake up. Want to say honors to all of the supporters. It is much appreciated. Honors to all of the supporters. Honors to each and every one of you that's here on this evening. First, I rise giving all perfect praise to our Father God Allah. Honors to His holy and divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to all past, present, and future members, officials, staff, and supporters of Moorish Temple of America. I want to give honors to my ancestors. I give honors to my parents, and I give honors to my husband, Brother Richard Neal Bay. I give honors definitely to all of you supporters. It is because of you all that I continue to just share my own experience, share what it is that I've learned and what I am learning. Just want to make announcements. I'm going to do a 3-part training session through Amexem Enterprises LLC. It's going to be on legal processes. I'm getting asked all the time, am I gonna be doing mentorships? I really don't want to do mentorships because I've seen y'all dog out your mentors on the internet. and I'm not inviting that type of energy. So what I will do is I will provide classes for those who would like to sign up. It is definitely going to be a fee for those classes. I'm going to have uh, a client of ours who went to court, and he got remedy as soon as he walked in the courtroom. They wouldn't allow him. They told him the case was dismissed. So I'm going to have him come on. He's going to give, his testimony on how our services has helped him tremendously. Um, he had possession charges, and amexem Enterprises LLC assisted him in that. I got another testimonial this week that what I taught a few years ago on law processes, legal processes that you can do, someone used it to get their child out of children services or child services child protective services here in Illinois. They were in a different county, but still it worked. They was able to get their child. So yeah, I really enjoying working through amexem Enterprises LLC. It gives me a lot of opportunity, not just to just win cases, but to assist people so that they don't have to, they ain't got to be in prison. Um, and that's mostly, most of my cases is going to be, oh, I'm about to go to prison. They trying to put me in, they trying to put me in jail. So I don't have to be in prison. Um, their children can be safe at home with them, families. I love those cases when we're able to get the children out of child protective services to get them back in the home. So be on the lookout for the flyer. I'm going to be posting a flyer after July the 20th, so be on the lookout for that. Again, it is going to be a fee. It's going to be 3 parts. Um, so, I mean, y'all getting ready right now. It's probably going to be about $3.99 total. The cost will probably be $3.99. Um, I do take payment arrangements. If you need payment arrangements, I can work with you. We can break those payments up. So every time that you come for one part, it'll have to be paid in order to get into the second part. So, like I said, be on the lookout for that. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into this tonight. Now, a couple of people was like this week, um, what do you think about DNA? Because I did my DNA test and my DNA says XYZ, and I'm like, well, what tribe does? Because my DNA says from Africa. Okay, what tribe did your DNA link you back to? And they can't tell you what tribe their DNA links them back to, because that's not the purpose of DNA. Uh, DNA genealogy tests. The test is supposed to, quote unquote, air quote, supposed to provide you with results on where your ancestors supposedly are from. However, it tells you that after the fourth and fifth generation, it can't tell you anything else after that. And many of us have found genealogy beyond 4th and 5th generations. Again, many of us have found genealogy beyond fourth and fifth generations. So if we're finding that and we're not finding any slaves from Africa, and understanding and knowing that Africa in the middle 1500s wasn't even the continent of Africa back then. Again, you can go back to my videos in the past where I go over and we break down that map of 15, I think it's 1554, Princeton University. And so coming up in today's time, they have created this thing called genealogy. And with this thing that they utilize called genealogy, they've been using it to quote unquote say that this is where you're from because your ancestors are supposed to be from this place. But again, they can't tell you what tribe you're from. And so I wanted to just go over some genealogy stuff tonight. We'll be going over some more of what really was going on during slavery, why the Great Rebellion even occurred, who were the parties within the Great Rebellion, because we've been lied to. There's so much that we have to uncover so that we'll know where we're going in the future, because we've been lied to so much. There's a lot of information, or there has been a lot of information that has come up, come on board, where they tore down so many of our ancient buildings. The technology, quote unquote, that we see today is very old technology that we was using in the Chicago World's Fair and way before that. But now we see, these technologies, and it's supposed to be new, but they're not. It's old. I'm going to say it again. It's old. It is extremely old. But again, they only have taught this to us in a manner of modern, quote, reconstructed history. All right. So let's get into it. I want to start off with genetic ancestry testing. This is Scientific American. I'm going to blow this up some for us. Shout out to everybody that's coming in. Let's see. Who do we have here? All right, brother. His Majesty, the Magnificent L. Peace. We have, of course, my husband, Brother Richard Neil Bay. All right, as y'all are coming in, peace to each and every one of you all. All right, so we're going to share this. Share this screen. Take this off. Hoping that y'all are doing well on tonight. All right, this is the Scientific American. Genetic ancestry testing is an inexact science, task force says. Genetic ancestry testing. This is your spit kits, your DNA kits, the ones that tell you to spit in it, and then we're going to send you some results in a couple weeks. We'll get back with you. All right. It says a store-based distribution of genetic health tests remains stalled pending federal review. Genetic ancestry tests are also drawing widespread concern from experts. A task force report commissioned by the American Society for Human Genetics and led by Chairman Royal of the Institute for Genomic Science and Policy at Duke University has called for better research and reporting in both academic and public genetic ancestry tests. Some 40 companies currently offer personal genetic ancestry tests, but results and interpretations are a troubling variable. The task force found that very concept of ancestry is subject to misunderstanding in both the general and scientific communities. The task force members wrote. The task force members wrote. It says scientists who research population histories have trouble sorting out definitive answers about geographic origins and ancient migrations, and they generally work with larger, more statistically weighty samples rather than with data from a single individual. Although databases of reference genetic sequences are growing rapidly, many other major studies have been done from the Human Genetic Diversity Panel with only about 101,000 genetic samples from across the globe, which means that even much of the vetted academic work on human ancestry is still far from conclusive. For most individuals, genetic ancestry tests hold the promise of pinpointing where their ancestors come from. Unfortunately, science has not yet caught up to this expected and sometimes promised level of precision. It says, unfortunately, science has not yet caught up to this expected and sometimes promised level of precision. Mm, mm. So, what does that mean? So, what does that mean? That means that science can't tell you who your ancestors were or where your ancestors was from. Science can't tell you that. It said, unfortunately, science has not yet caught up to this expected and sometimes promised. Who's sometimes promising that you'll be able to connect to your family genetic ancestors is your spit DNA test companies. This is what they promise. But the science isn't even there. But they're promising this because we don't read the small print. Instead, we see the big promises that's flashing out at us instead of reading the small print. It says the estimates of geographic ancestral origins are based on basal ancestral populations from, for instance, Northern Europe, Asia, Africa, or North America. However, as the task force report authors pointed out, most of these genetic population maps are actually based on best estimates. Best estimates of original populations because we do not have the ability to sample ancestral populations. What they're telling you is that they don't have the ability to dig up your ancestors and get spit from them and test them, because that's the way it works. Just like if you're doing a DNA test for a child and a parent, you have to get the child and the parent spit. Or if the parent is no longer here, then you have to get the child and the oldest boy or the oldest girl child of that parent. But you got to have separate spit tests from two separate individuals to see if there's a match. It's like we forget that. I don't understand. Like we grew up watching Maury. And as we grew up watching Maury, we all remember the people that would come on Maury and say, Maury, I just want to know if such and such was my child's father, but he was murdered, and there's no way for me to get a DNA test from them. So Maury would bring in the oldest male of the father's side to be able to take the spit test to see if the child was the father's. And vice versa, the same thing for the mother. If someone was wanting to know if, because they may have been adopted or they were in foster care and they didn't know who their mother is and they think they know who their mother was, and the mother is no longer there, so they can't find out. They will find out from the oldest child or the oldest relative of that missing parent. It's like we just forgot all about that. We automatically jump to, well, fathers do it every day, all day, to see if the child is there. Yeah, but what if the father is absent and he can't do it? And just like you said, the father and the child is doing it together. You can't take a spit test and say, oh, you know what? I'm related to them and my ancestors is from this, that, and the other, based off of a spit test. They're telling you. Let's get some more. Here we go. Let's go to Live Science. Live Science. LiveScience.com. Genetic ancestry tests mostly hype, scientists say. Several companies now claim for as little as $100 and a swab of the inner cheek, they can reveal a person's family tree. In ancestral homeland. Listen to this now. Several companies now claim that for as little as $100 in a swab of the inner cheek, they can reveal a person's family tree in ancestral homeland. But more than a dozen scientists from various backgrounds say such recreational genetics or vanity tests have significant scientific limitations and rely on misconceptions about race and genetics. Again, unfortunately, science has not yet caught up to this expected and sometimes promised level of precision. Says if test takers is just interested and finding out where there are some people in the world that share the same DNA as them, then these tests can certainly tell them that, said Deborah Blahnik of the University of Texas in Austin. But they're not going to tell you every place and every group in the world where people share your DNA. Nor will they necessarily be able to tell you exactly where your ancestors live or what race or social group they identified with. Because the tests are vanity tests, recreational genetics. It's fake. It's not real. But we are so over sensationalized. It's like we become a bunch of children. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, if I can just get you all to just think, just get you to think, you can, you know what, I can get you to save yourself. No, we don't want to save ourselves. That's too much work. That is way too much work. Medical Daily. DNA ancestry tests are meaningless for your historical genealogy search. It says genealogy tracking has become big business. What Puffy say, it's all about the Benjamins, baby. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Genealogy tracking has become big business, with many companies charging up to $300 to trace your DNA to specific historical figures or ethnic groups in the distant past by analyzing ancestry tests. A group of scientists now offers a public warning that these ancestry tests have little scientific backing and are often so unreliable and inaccurate that they amount to genetic astrology. Oh, it's a genetic astrology. Stop playing. Here go Morris. You know, I did my I did my DNA test. My DNA test told me I'm from Africa. I don't know what y'all talking about. That Morris crazy. My DNA test told me that I'm from Africa. Can't tell me because my DNA test told me. Y'all understand that a lot of these bigger platforms where people got the same, color skin as us, constantly telling us that we from Africa, that we came over here on some slave ships. Y'all not understand that they keep telling y'all to take these DNA tests, and they got DNA tests mentioned within the body of the description of their videos. They're sending you the links so that you can get the DNA test. Y'all understand they get money every time they send you the link and you use that link? It's called an affiliates fee. So yeah, they keep telling you to take it. You'll tell everybody to take it. Oh, you need to take it so you can see where your ancestors are from. Guarantee you my ancestors ain't from no Africa. I didn't do my genealogy. My ancestors ain't from Africa. Because we was all slaves on some slave ships. What is a slave? Let's go to the etymology of the word slave. Slave. 1300, sklave, esclave, person who is the chattel or property of another. From Old French, esclave, 13th century, and directly from medieval Latin sclavis, slave. It says originally Slav. Originally Slav. Slav. So used in the secondary sense because the many Slavs sold into slavery by conquering peoples. Right? It says the oldest written history of the Slavs can be shortly summarized: myriads of slave hunts and the enthrallment of entire peoples. The Slav was the most prized of human goods, with increased strength outside his marshy land of origin. Hardened to the utmost against all privation, industrious, content with the little good humor and cheerful, he filled the slave markets of Europe, Asia, and Africa. He filled the slave markets of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Of course, we know America, but they ain't gonna put that. But we know we can go back to slavery over here. It's always been big business. That's what they said the DNA spit kits are. Right? It says genealogy tracking has become big business. Big business. See, they don't have to put you in shackles. They ain't got to put you in shackles. You're going to voluntarily participate in the data slavery trade. I'm trading your data. I'm trading your genetics. Man, y'all gonna stop playing and wake up. I said he filled the slave markets of Europe, Asia, and Africa. But we've seen that before, right? Haven't we seen that before? Where it says that he filled the slave markets of Europe, Africa, and Asia? We've seen that before. Where did we see that before? Because I know I read that before. Right? I know I've read that before. Let's go to the Forgotten White Slaves, an Ignored History of Slavery Worldwide. The Forgotten White Slaves and the Ignored History of Slavery Worldwide. Again, it reads, the history of slavery is more complicated than you've been told. Did you know that up to 1,250,000 white slaves were shipped to North Africa? Did you know a fifth of the United States government's 1797 budget was paid in tribute to North African Muslim nations? right? So when they're saying North African Muslim nations, right? That's code word. That's codified wording. It's codified because another word for African would be um, barbarian, right? They use that word barbarian also for African, right? So one of the older maps that we found, 1491, and they said that Columbus found us over here in 1492. But here it is, this map circa 1491, calling this place over here the barbarous tribes east of the Mississippi. The barbarous tribes east of the Mississippi. So when they say the Northern African Muslims, the North African Muslim nations, right, that they're paying a tribute to, this is who they're paying the tribute to. They're paying it to the barbarous tribes. It's 1797. Yeah, that's who they're paying it to. The barbarous tribes. And it says to stop enslaving Americans. Because the barbarous tribes are Americans. Always have been the Amaru. The Americans, the real ones. Us. Not everybody that's just coming over here talking about I'm American because I was born here. Mm-mm. See, we're American because we have the right by right of blood and by right of soil. So we're not just born here, but we've always been here. We sprung from the land here, which will make us autochthonous, the Aboriginal or the original Americans, not Native Americans. That is a new concept. So if we go further down, back onto this forgotten white history, right here it says the oldest written history of the Slavs can be shortly summarized mirrors the slave hunts and the enthrallment of entire peoples. The Slav was the most prized of human goods. Didn't I just read that? Which increased strength outside his marshy land of origin. Heartened to the utmost against all privation, industrious, content with little good humor, and cheerful, he filled the slave markets of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Right? This is how you cross-reference information. We got to stop being so lazy in our research. Somebody will throw something out, we Google it. Most of the time we go to Wikipedia. We might go to a book. We just might go to a book. Talking about we cross-reference that. That's not cross-referencing. That's being lazy in your research. right? So the real slaves that was over here was the Slavs, right? Those are the real slaves. Here we go again, the forgotten history of thousands of white Britons who lived and died in bondage in Britain's American colonies. In the 17th and 18th centuries, said in the 17th and 18th centuries, more than 300,000 white people were shipped to America. See, I told you, even though they didn't put America, they shipped them to America. Were shipped to America as slaves. Urchins were swept up from London streets to labor in tobacco fields, where life expectancy was no more than 2 years. Life expectancy was no more than 2 years. Wow. Life expectancy was no more than 2 years. That's how harsh the conditions were that they were working under, right? And this was before that whole fake 1619 project. Because that 1619 project thing ain't real. It was never real. Here we go. See what y'all saying in the chat. The chat talking about. That's right. His Majesty, the Magnificent L. Yes, they got a spit kit task force. Facts. Indeed, the Powhatan Confederacy, etc. I'm going to show you some more about the Confederacy. I'm going to show you some more about the Confederacy tonight before it's all over with. Right, here is a rose by any other name is a cactus, defining mixed blood Indians in colonial Virginia and the Carolinas. Right, it says 1731, special meeting of South Carolina House of Commons, after a member had announced that free colored men with their white wives have immigrated from Virginia with the attention on settling on the Santee River. On the Santee River. Now, the Santee River is over there in the same location as the other South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, low islands. All right, that's the same location. That's where the military field order went out for the 40 acres and the mule. That's what and where the 40 acres and the mule was supposed to go. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. That was the only location for the 40 acres and the mule. Read the military order. And again, it's a military order, and a military order is not law. Congress did not make that a law, and the president did not make that an executive order. That was never law. That was a military order. All right? So it says, report of Governor Robert Johnson, I have had them before me in council, and upon examination find that they are not Negroes nor slaves, but free people. That the father of them here is named Gideon Gibson, and his father was also free. So they tried to call him a free colored person. And it said, no, 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 no. Upon examination, find that they are not Negroes nor slaves, but free people. That the father them here in name, Gideon Gibson, and his father was also free. (1753) Will of Alexander Wood of St. James, Goose Creek Parish. Goose Creek is in South Carolina by Moncks Corner in Columbia. All right. Goose Creek Parish planter to his half-bred Indian slaves named Dookie Cox and George Cox, born of his Indian slave named Jenny, and Minerva Watkins, born of his Indian slave named Ma, manumission upon his death. So it's saying he was a half-bred Indian slave, but he wasn't half-breed with no pale skin European. He was half-bred with an Asiatic, a Moorish man. So that means he would have been a swarthy European. It's making a distinction. That's a European from over in Europe. You know, the ones that look like us? Many of them came over here several times over. When they came over here in great migrations. And so they came over here in one of the migrations when they were kicked out of Ireland. Remember that? Another time they came over here in a large number within the migration when they didn't want to conform to Catholicism. Yeah, because they always came back home. You know, like in the Bible, whenever the children of Israel was in any trouble, they would run back to Egypt. Because this is Egypt over here. America is the true old world. Let's get it. UNZ.com. America's Buried History of White Slavery. America's Buried History of White Slavery. See, this is the slavery that was going on, y'all. This right here. This was the slavery that they never want to talk about. This is the Slavs. This is what was going on. All right, now these are the ones that came and that was working off of the orphan trains. Y'all remember the orphan trains? These were the genetic ones that was made by the Germans, the French, the German scientists. They were started out in the incubators, they called them the incubator babies, and you can go and see them. They were on observation and for review in Staten Island, and then they had them in the form of foster care, living in homes, and it got so bad that they had to ship them out of New York. And this is where they were doing it. They was working in the fields. We always worked in fields, right? It says the best way to forget history is to rewrite it, and in the rewriting, to carefully delete references to any historical events or circumstances we find uncomfortable. Thus, American history books are totally silent on the matter of these white slaves, mostly of European stock, with a great number of Irish, but also English and Scottish, who were kidnapped or otherwise forcibly deported to the U.S. as slave labor. Now, see, they wasn't kidnapped. Ain't nobody kidnapping them. No, they wasn't kidnapped. Matter of fact, slaves in Europe wasn't kidnapped. No, you didn't have you wasn't kidnapping those slaves out of Europe and bringing them over here. Mm-mm. Yeah, that's not the way it worked. See, if you was a Slav, you was bred, you were genetically bred to be the Slav class of society. You was not kidnapped. Your ancestors were not kidnapped from Europe and brought over here. Nay, not Slavs. Let's get into this book. Right, this book is titled White Servitude in the Colony of Virginia. And go to page 65. It says the concept of the servant as a portion of the personal estate is shown to be fully developed by the Act of 1711, which directed these servants and slaves should be continued on the plantation of a person who died intestate, or who did not otherwise direct in his will to finish the crop, upon which they were to remain in the hands of the executors or administrators, while the slaves were then to pass to their heirs at law, as by the Act of 1705 they had been declared to be real estate. Real estate. The period is thus characterized by a twofold development. First, on the part of the master, from a concept of his right to the service guaranteed by the contract into such incidents as enable him to realize this right, to a concept of property in the servant himself, which he would employ to the utmost advantage allowed him by law, and on the part of the servant from a desire to fulfill the conditions of his contract, to his desire in general to escape from servitude, whether based on lawful contract or on the exaction of his master. Secondly, a reduction of the relation of master and servant. Don't we have an entire chapter in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America titled Master and Servant? It says lawful contract or on the exact relation of his master. Secondly, a reduction on the relation of master and servant to fixity and uniformity throughout the colony by the action of statute law and asserting their respective rights and duties. So its third period, 1726 to 1788. During this period, the institution of white servitude gradually declined before the growing institutions of Negro slavery, which proved economically far superior to it. We find the development of no new rights on the part of the master, and on the part of the servant, only that of assent to the assignment of his contract. This was not granted until 1785, when the system itself was practically at end. 1785, when the system itself was practically at end. The contract could now be assigned only on the free consent of the servant, attested in writing by a justice of the peace. The various modifications introduced affecting rights already established were generally in migration of the servant's condition and point to a very rapid decline of indentured servitude after the middle of the century. This is indicated by a reduction of penalties for such abuses as harboring runaways or dealing with servants, by the repeal of 1763 or former acts providing for the servitude of persons who came in without indentures, while making no provisions to regulate in the future. Now, remember, we read about Anthony Johnson or Antonio Johnson, who came in on the Mayflower with his wife Mary in the 1600s. And when they came in, he had an indenture. And then he was the largest slave owner in Maryland. But they claim he was a slave. They claim he was an African descent Negro slave. And then he worked for 14 years with paid wages as a slave, authorization to get married as a slave, have children as a slave. But he was a slave, so they say. No, he was working on the indenture for 14 years. That was 2 indentures. So he had an indenture originally 7 years. Indentures were 7 years. Every now and then they were 14 years, but mostly indentures were 7 years. After the 7 years, he renewed his contract with his master. All right, so it says in 1765, the practice of binding the bastard children of a white woman servant or a free woman for 31 years was declared by the assembly to be an unreasonable severity to such children, and the term was limited to 21 years for males and 18 for females. By the Act of 1769, they were to be treated as apprentices. See, now they're able to get apprentices. Before, they was just slaves. But it wasn't until 1769, now they're able to get apprentices. So now they get able to get paid wages. They get fair treatment now. It said unimportant changes were introduced in the law relating to runaways designed to facilitate their recovery with least expense to the master and consequently with least injustice to the servant. Freedom dues were fixed with a money equivalent. See? Told you they was getting paid now. And were the same for both men and women. Injury to a servant might be redressed by immediate discharge from service by order of a court. Now they can go to court and get redress for grievances. The new legislation as a whole was not important and developed no principles. the legal fixity of the conception of the servant as a piece of property is apparent and becomes further developed through the influence of slavery and as a result of long terms and from 7 to 14 years on which the English felons, you want to go back to it? The English felons, right? It says that brothels were raided to provide breeders for Virginia. Hopeful migrants were duped into signing as indentured servants, unaware they would become personal property who could be bought, sold, and even gambled away. Transported convicts were paraded for sale like livestock. Transported convicts, right? These are England's felons, the Slavs. I'm not just making this up. It's facts. Right? It says England's felons. Let's get back to this work. Says English felons were transported to the colony. That's how you cross-reference. The Act of 1785 legally defines servants as all white persons, not being citizens of any of the Confederate States of America. The Confederate States of America. And this is 1785. I keep telling y'all that United States of America has always originally been a confederation, a confederacy. The Confederate States of America. This is what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was taking us back to. Moors got stuck in, oh, we gonna meet on Friday. We gonna meet on Sunday. We gonna meet on Wednesday. Because we gotta have Quran class. We gotta go to Sunday school because out from your Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. And we gotta go to Holy Night meeting because the prophet said, Moors got stuck. You forgot about the Confederacy. The prophet definitely brought the Confederacy. Y'all don't even know what the Confederacy is. Morris keeps saying the prophet ain't bring. What K Gabrielle talking about? The prophet ain't. What? What K Gabrielle? She don't know what she talking about. She don't know no more science. She don't know no more science. Prophet ain't bring that. She don't know no more science. Prophet ain't bring that. Nemo. No. You don't know what the prophet brought because you don't comprehend what it is that you have been reading for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You do not comprehend. Your comprehension level skills at best is on a elementary school level. Grade 1 through 5 at best. at best. Then the majority don't even read. My grand sheik said. My grand sheik, no, because you can't tell me, because my grand sheik know the lessons. What lessons? What lessons does your grand sheik know? Moorish lessons. What is Moorish lessons? You can't even explain it. Like, you can't even articulate what Moorish lessons are. Well, my grand sheik loved me, and I love my grand sheik. My grand sheik know the words of the prophet. Well, my grand sheik is so old that my grand sheik was right there next to the prophet when the prophet was still on the scene. Like, what? Yeah, because my grand sheik was a student directly under the prophet. As if you was here and you knew that student was not one of the ones that threw the prophet's furniture out of his own office. Come on now. But y'all be people worshiping way too much and too lazy to read and research and study for yourself. So you got to go off of the word of some other man. That's dangerous. If you allow your life to be led by some other man, when you join the Moorish Temple of America, you got to let that type of thinking escape and leave you and never to return. Because that's the type of thinking that already had you bound in mental slavery. Back into slavery. It's so many stories that I get all the time of Moors. Like, man, when I joined the temple, I thought that the Moors in the temple, they was just going to be different. I thought it was going to be different than what it was out on the street. Why? Why is it that you believe in your mind that you don't have the same spirits in the temple that you have outside of the temple? For some reason, it's like we forget common sense when we get into organizations. And that's the reason why a lot of times you look at people and you like, dang, you look at your family members, you look at your friends and associates, you look at them and you like, dang, they was different. I mean, the way they living right now is all right, because it helps them morally. But look at them. Look at their situation. Like, they were doing way better financially than they are now. I don't know where that spirit comes from, that we come into the temple and we're supposed to be some vagabonds, but that is not it. That's not lit, y'all. That ain't the move at all. I don't know where that came from. I don't know where this spirit of, you're supposed to get it for free. For free. Serving is worthy of his hire, prophecy. Nationality is for free. Me teaching you ain't for free. Me telling you what I know ain't for free. What makes you think that I'm supposed to give that to you for free? That's insanity. So it says that the Act of 1785 legally defines servants as all white persons not being citizens of any of the Confederate States of America, who shall come into this Commonwealth under contract to serve another in any trade or occupation. This definition excludes slaves, hirelings who were citizens of any of the Confederate States, but included convicts. included again the Slavs, whose importation was not finally prohibited until 1788, and apprentices from abroad. Man. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Man, when we gonna wake up? When are we gonna wake up? I don't want to wake up. When we gonna wake up? When are we going to wake up? Y'all not tired of being asleep? Y'all not really, y'all really not tired of being asleep? Because we've been asleep long enough. That's right, His Majesty Magnificent Ill, the Cabbage Patch Kids. That's the real Cabbage Patch Kids. The orphan train kids. The incubator kids. These were the genetically modified. I'm serious. Y'all start to go and ask, and y'all go and ask these pale skin Europeans where their grandparents is from. They gonna tell you that. Most of them, most of their grandparents were adopted. A lot of them were in adoption agencies. Those adoption agencies was a part of that, the train kids, the ones that were created in the incubators. Yeah, the ones that were created in the incubators. Cabbage Patch Kids. Let's move on. See, because I don't want y'all to believe me. I just want y'all to know. I want you to know the truth. That whole, oh, you got to believe me. No, I don't need you to believe me. I just need you to know the truth. So here we go. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer, August 23rd, 1889. See, I want you to understand, and I want you to know what these generals look like, who was a part of the Confederate States of America. Right? So here it goes. It reads, it says, a light, worldly, gray-headed little man with gray chin beard and a brown complexion registered at the Lafayette yesterday with his wife. The name he signed was James R. Chalmers. James R. Chalmers, Sardis, Mississippi. General Chalmers is pretty well known to the people of this country. He was a Confederate brigadier and a fire eater of the old regime. He said my man was a fire eater. His connection with the Fort Pillow massacre is historical and has often been a subject of congressional debate. General Chalmers represented the celebrated Shoestring District of Mississippi for several terms as a Democratic. Though the white voters were outnumbered. This is the South. This is Mississippi. That's how they say it in Illinois. I always say Mississippi. This is Mississippi. And in Mississippi, the white voters are outnumbered. That's all throughout the South. It has always been that way. The majority of us have always been in the South. So all this fixation, all this hoopla of, oh man, we were some slaves on some slave ships and came from Africa, and the pale skin, the white man was beating us up and up. Man, that is cap. That is cap. That's cap. It said the white voters were outnumbered. This is after the Great Rebellion is over with. Says the white voters were outnumbered by the colored 5-1. So if you outnumber just by the voters, this ain't by everybody, just by the voters, 5-1, who you think you enslaving, fam? If y'all don't wake up and stop playing around with this folly. Prophet said mental slavery. Right. Y'all know 1830. The biggest slave owners in every state was us. Y'all gonna stop playing. This is the 1830s. I better stop playing with this thing. Stop playing with it. It said color by 5-1. What did what they say he looked like? Let's pull up his picture. Yeah, let's see what his picture looking like. That's that general. Let's go to Wikipedia, see what his picture was looking like. General Ronald Chalmers. Right? This is him. Now, we're going to look at this picture automatically. We say, oh, yeah, he's a pale skin European man. Mm-hmm. That's the white man, right? That's the white man. The white man. He was the white man, right? How was he the white man? And he won with this brown complexion? Because then they say he had brown complexion, but he was the white man. How he? Man, somebody playing. Right? It said a light, burly, gray-headed little man with gray chin beard and a brown complexion. Everybody that voted for him was brown. 5-1. The white man was brown. Let's look at another one. We're going to do another one. This one is, let's see. This is the Cumberland Daily Times, May 18th, 1887. General Joe Wheeler. His reminiscence of the fall of the Confederacy, the Confederate States of America. The fall of the Confederacy. How Wade Hampton and Joe Wheeler discussed Jeff Davis's escape, Wheeler's journey with Alexander Stephens, and Jefferson Davis in the northern prisons. It says, I had a chat with General Joe Wheeler the other day. He now represents one of the northern congressional districts of Alabama in the House of Representatives, and he is one of the most striking characters in the South. He is short and slim, nervous and whirly, and he does not weigh all told over 125 pounds. He has, listen, he has black hair, a dark complexion, bright black eyes, and a full black beard, into which the gray is fast creeping. He dresses in dark clothes and wears his Prince Albert coat, but in tightly around his little frame, making it look smaller than ever. He apparently does not care much for dress, and he wears a soft hat, which is now crowds down upon his head, now sticks in the pocket of his overcoat, and now carries about under his arm. He is a very popular man among his fellows, has nothing of the snob about him, and is as pleasant as conversationalist as you would find among public men. It says General Wheeler's career is one of the most magnificent of those described in the Congressional Directory. A graduate at West Point. He went to West Point. He served in Kansas and in New Mexico as a lieutenant prior to 1861. He then resigned and joined the Confederacy and was made a lieutenant of artillery in the Confederate Army. He was then only 25 years old. He was promoted again and again, and upon the death of General Zeb Stuart, he became the senior cavalry general of the Confederate Army. He was, in fact, the Phil Sheridan of the South, and the Confederate Congress passed a joint resolution thanking him for his success in his military operations. After the war was over, he went back to Alabama and became a lawyer and a cotton planter. He now lives in the rapidly developing regions of the New South, and as he owns great amount of land there, he is probably a very wealthy man. I chatted with him about the experiences at the time of the fall of the Confederacy. He told me of an interview he had with President Davis at Charlotte, North Carolina, just after General Joe Johnston had surrendered to Sherman. Said he, Mr. Davis had removed the government to Charlotte. Mr. Davis had moved the government to Charlotte. Does anyone know why President Davis would move the government to Charlotte? God dang on. Get this word. Have you ever heard of the Constitution of Mecklenburg County? Yeah, see, this Constitution was written prior to the Constitution of the United States of America. And for some reason, this Constitution just suddenly disappeared a couple days right before the Constitution of the United States of America. You do know that Charlotte is in Mecklenburg County, right? Let's keep going. It said Mr. Davis had removed the government to Charlotte. He had a portion of his cabinet with him and was surrounded by all the paraphernalia of office. We called him Mr. President. He gave us his orders and directed his secretaries to do such things as he thought best. I remember the Breckinridge was there as the Secretary of War. Reagan as Postmaster General, and others. General Wade Hampton and myself were called in to see Mr. Davis at the time. The members of his cabinet were with him. After discussing the situation with the cabinet, he called me to him and told me he had decided to move to Cokesboro, North Carolina, and that he wanted me to bring my command there. I then had 8 brigaders under me, but before I had come to Charlotte, I had seen that the soldiers considered the war over, and I doubted my ability to hold them together. I told Mr. Davis the situation. The soldiers said, I think that the war is over, and I don't believe they will remain in the service much longer. I cannot bring my entire command to Cokesboro, but I can enlist enough of the best men for any new enterprise you may have on hand and bring them to any point you may choose. I doubt, however, whether Cokesboro will be a good point. General Stoneman is moving westward in North Carolina with his troops, and the place will be occupied before you get there. I also told Mr. Davis that if he intended to fly, I think not it best for him to take a large command with him. It said if he intended to fly in an airplane. Oh, we go stop playing. we gonna stop playing. We gonna stop playing. We've been playing for far too long. We gotta stop being lazy because we've been playing for way too long. It says When are we gonna wake up, y'all? Said if he intended to fly, I did not think it best for him to take a large command with him, as this would attract attention to the in court battle. I advised him to take an escort of a few picked men, and if he was determined to have a large number, to take these troops in addition to half a dozen picked men who could aid in escape in case of an emergency. Mr. Davis, however, thought that Cokesborough was the proper point, and he had given all orders in preparation for a rendezvous there. He had ordered Breckinridge, his Secretary of War, to have 16,000 horseshoes sent there. And after he was through talking to me, he called General Ray Hampton to him and asked him if he thought he could bring his 2 brigades to Cokesborough. General Hampton replied, "Whatever I order my men to do, they will do. Whatever I order my men to do, they will do." I'm gonna let y'all go check that out. Read that. But it said that this man, General Wheeler, said that he had a dark complexion. And they claimed that slavery was so bad for us. Slavery was so bad for us. It was so bad for us. We was getting beat down. But General Wheeler, here he is. Right? This pale-skinned European man coming to save the day. Let's see what General Wheeler looked like. Let's go to our favorite let's see what Joseph Wheeler looked like. Mm-hmm. No, this is your man's. This your man's right here, General Joseph Wheeler. Look at him. See? Pale skinned European white man came to save the day. Came to save us from massa. Look at him, y'all. Look at him. He came to save us from massa. That dark complexion man came to save us from massa, huh? Oh, that ain't it. That's not it. We gonna get this work. We gonna get this work. Here they go. They got him right here. Oh man, look at this one. Look at this one. Oh man, look at him. Look how dark complexion he is. Just looking all dark complected, right? Look how dark complected he is. Hmm. Hmm. And look at this one. This picture, they got him right here with the Confederate flag behind him, right? You know, that's that old racist flag that they be putting up everywhere. That's that one. Then they got him right here. Got him right here. I want to see that other picture, General Wheeler. I want to see that other one. Let's see if we can find that other one, y'all. I want to show y'all something. See, because I don't just be talking. And I don't be just like, oh, the prophet said, without showing and proving. Because it sound good and it sound cute. I'm coming with facts. Yeah, I'm going to come with facts. Let's see. I think this is it right here. No, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Come on, General Wheeler. Here we go. My man. General Wheeler. Got him. Georgia Encyclopedia. Got him. Big up to the Georgia Encyclopedia. I want y'all all to pay attention to the shoulders of our dear beloved brother General Wheeler, right? Because immediately when I saw his shoulders, I said, I seen those shoulders somewhere before. Years ago, when I was teaching on another general, a war leader, one of our ancestors, one of the brothers who was putting in that work for the Confederacy. Him and his brother name was the Prophet. Talking about no other than Brother Tecumseh, the great ancestor Tecumseh, the great war chief himself. Don't believe me? Here we go. What that picture that I got of Tecumseh? Let me see. See, because I ain't just making this up, y'all. I'm being what I know. See, I'm gonna be exactly what I know. So they say that this is Tecumseh, and they got him whitewashed, like they do all of our ancestors, right? They always got our ancestors whitewashed. Now look at his shoulders. It is the same. It is the same. It got the same 5-star on it, 5-pointed star on it, on his shoulders. He got on a turban with a feather. Stop playing. Department of the Army. 1770. Ain't that before 1776? Didn't I just tell you that President Davis moved the government to Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, where the Mecklenburg County Declaration of Independence was already established in 1775, before this whole 1776 thing came up? Hmm. Mm. 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 This will defend. Y'all see the Liberty Cap? This will defend. You see the Liberty Cap. Miguel, you said what year was this? What year, beloved? You talking about the you probably talking about this news clipping. Cumberland, Maryland, Wednesday evening, May 18, 1887. I'll send it to you. I'll send you the news clipping. Because you gotta have an account, a paid account with them in order to look at these news clippings. But yeah, I'll send it to you. And the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence was 1775. Yep. They've been playing with us with this whole reconstructed history for long enough. For long enough. For long enough. They've been playing with us for long enough. See, here go Tecumseh again. With that 5-pointed star on his shoulders. Come on, y'all. Stop, man. We're going to stop playing. Shout out to General Wheeler. General Wheeler came through. Boy, daggone it. Signs and symbols for the conscious mind. Y'all better wake up. That's right. His Majesty Magnificent El says, sis, cooking, man, look. That's only right. Says star on his shoulders, turban and feathers, and a medallion on. Islam. Facts. Facts. And a medallion on. Mm, 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 mm. And a medallion on. I want to go to our brother, the great ancestor Solomon Sir Jones. Daggone. Because, man, we wasn't looking like we was just up out of no slavery. Nah, not at all. Tell you why the world was mad, y'all. I'm going to show you why. Man, praise Allah for the ancestors. Solomon Sir Jones, he did the daggone thing. I'm going to go down to, let's see. Y'all know these videos are silent. And we owned all of this. These were our buildings. SS Congress and Department Building, Beaumont, Texas. And we just chilling. Enjoying life. Look at us. Interior of SS Congress. It always buffers on his videos. Dr. and Mr. W. Hurst of Kansas City, Missouri. Miss Ashburn. Shorty got on real pearls. Those are real pearls. Where do you get all that money from? He's supposed to be new slaves. Where they get all this money from, y'all? AF cadets. AF cadets. These look like a version of the Boy Scouts. Like the original ones. AF cadets. Look at them. Advanced Teachers Association. Look at them. Look at them. They got on their feather crowns. Let's go back to it. Looking like little power hottens. Look at them. Why would our children have on feather crowns? Come on now. It's my favorite video right here. It's my favorite one. Yeah, it's my favorite one right here. It's like a 90s video. Look at that. Look at that. Those cars are all made by us. Look at that. Look at them. Look at them. Look at it. Hold on, let me go back. Look, look, look. Come on now. Y'all, we gonna stop playing. Sit here and let these people indoctrinate us like this. Shout out to the ancestor Solomon Sir Jones for being able to capture just a portion of who we were at this time. Man, big up to Solomon Sir Jones. Big up to all the ancestors that put in the work. Y'all, it is way past time for us to wake up. We've been asleep for way too long. I want to take a reading from the Moorish literature. Right, because the prophet told us that we was in mental slavery. Right, because that's what we was dealing with. I'm going to go to number 2. And it says, I'm going to just read that portion. It says, "Come good people, because I the prophet sent to redeem this nation." This nation. Sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is a field. Just seeing the video, the little boys, the little cadets in the field working out. Said this is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the Europeans and the other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish Divine National Movement, your political party. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you." Now, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, chapter 25, right, is the Asiatic covenant, right? It's the Asiatic covenant. It's a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. It says, "Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care. In the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, and peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thine own blood." Before thine own blood, your brothers and your sisters. are based off of your blood type. Your blood type. Right? Your blood type. Your blood type. Your blood type. All major ABO blood alleles are found in most populations worldwide, whereas the majority of Native Americans are nearly exclusively in the O group. So when they talk about Native Americans, they're talking about us. Are in the O group, whether you be O negative or you be O positive. We are normally in the O group. We are normally in the O group. Start asking everybody, what's your blood type? What's your blood type? I gave you all this as a remedy in commerce a few years back, right? I gave y'all this remedy in commerce a few years back. Right now, you can go and still get it. You can go and still get it. Right? You can still get this. If you don't know your blood type, or if you know your blood type, go and get you your blood test. Get your blood test. Take your results. Use the template that's in Mighty Networks for affidavit. And make sure you write that down in your family Bible. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, do not get rid of your family Bible, your Bibles. That's where your family records are. Because, to keep it all the way real, y'all, I think the King James Version Bible is King James family's history. That's what I think that is. That's why it's called the King James. But hey, what do I know? Yeah, y'all, get your blood test. Right? Because most of us are of the family of O, right? Our blood is O. I want to say again, shout out to everybody that came out and rocked out with us this evening. If anyone wants to get any of the information that I provided, you can reach out. Our number is 877-808-2477. You can go to our website, www.mstahohr805.co. I'm gonna put the link in the chat if anybody want to come up. Anybody got any comments or questions? StreamYard link in the chat if you want to come up. If you want to say something before I close out for the night. But yeah, y'all, we gonna keep getting this work. We gonna keep cooking. Shout out to the family and with the old blood. Shout out to my old blood family. We not talking about no gang. Y'all know how YouTube be sometimes. No, we not talking about or supporting any gangs. Talking about the actual blood, our actual blood types. Right, so y'all keep thinking DNA test is what it is. It's not. Stop being lazy. Start using these resources. Everyone who has availability to go to the local main library in your city, you can go and find your family records. They are there. Those who have close proximity to any national archives locations, you can go there and look up records. Every county has available records. Go find them, y'all. They're right there. Find your family records. Chart your genealogy out. Because DNA, it's a joke. Let's get back to this Confederacy. We're gonna be announcing this Confederacy real soon. So y'all be on the lookout for the Confederacy. It's been here the whole time, but for some reason, the only person I know that ever taught about it and said anything about it to me was the great Sultan Kanbay. May Allah be pleased with him. With that, y'all, I want to say peace and love. See y'all again next week, inshallah. Peace.